Hello everybody, it's again Wednesday and we follow our tradition to paint with watercolor every Wednesday. I see that you are joining and I would appreciate if you let me know that you can hear and you can see me well. Yeah, привет! Yeah, so I can guess that the connection is good. We're going to paint, you don't see, hibiscus flower. I asked my followers, I think you are among them, on Instagram what we're going to paint this Wednesday, and most have chosen hibiscus flower. This photo I've made on Madeira this November when we were painting with my students plein air. Nice blouse. Thank you. So actually hibiscus is a rather easy flower, but because it has very tender petals, it may be a bit of a challenge, but we will enjoy definitely the session. So the plan for today is talking about composition and about drawing, because of the typical petals of this flower. We will talk about wet on wet technique, to talk about consistency as usually, because I paint wet on wet, and the main technique that we are going to use today is charging, so that we make the flower and the background interesting and sophisticated with different colors. So it means that we are going to use reflexes, because reflex is something that influences on other objects, and we will see on the flower that it works very nice, because in this case the flower is not like cut out from the environment, but it is integrated into the environment. I think I'm ready to start. If you have any questions, just ask, and I will switch off, not switch off, I will change the camera so that you see what is on my table, and we will start. Thank you for joining me now during the live stream, because you have the opportunity to ask your questions, to paint together, and at the same time you know that the stream will be recorded. It will be uploaded exactly after it is finished, and you can replay it as many times as you want for your further painting. Hi Karin, thank you for joining anyway, and you know that it will be recorded, so you can paint later. So I'm changing the camera, and I need to do it correctly. Like it's a big deal for me. I think that now you see my table and a small icon of the reference photo, and small me here in the corner. You can find the photo reference and the pencil drawing on my Patreon. It is free, you can download it, so it's super easy for you to have it also on your own device, or even print it out. Let's talk just a bit about the materials. I have 100% cotton paper. It's Hahnemuhle as usually. Oopsie. This one. So it's 100% cotton is super important. I usually say about that you can take cheap brushes, you can a bit experiment with paints, but not with the paper. It's very important to have nice paper. The brushes that I'm going to use are the big brush for watering the paper, my main brush for painting is Escoda Perla, but I also love using Leonard. It's rather old, you cannot see the name anymore, but it's Leonard 30. It's very nice, also synthetic brush. And I need also some small brush for the details. This is a schlepper brush, this is something different, but both are natural. So any small brush for the details will be good. Sometimes I also use flat synthetic brush, but it's not obligatory. And the colors that I'm going to use today, I will open the photo reference. Yes, here. And let's talk first about the flower. The flower is pink. That's why I'm going to use Opera Rose. This is just normal pink, so to say, but there are brands like Mijello, they have very bright Opera Rose. You can also use it, just the result will be a bit different, because this Opera Rose is more like Queen Rose, not that neon color that from Mijello. Sometimes I use it, but not today. I'm also using Alizarin for this bright color, for these bright colors. I think that I don't have it here, but I'm also going to add a bit of red color. This is permanent red or also cadmium red. I will mix with alizarin for these places. So because my alizarin is rather dark, so I will make it a bit warmer. If I want to get a bit of purplish effect like on these places, I will add a bit ultramarine, or instead of ultramarine I can use lavender. I love lavender. I will add it to my background, and I will add also to the flowers. Moreover, we are talking about reflexes today, and the sky as the biggest object in our life influences everything. We can also see the parts of the sky here, and it means that some parts get a bit of bluish effect. That's why I will add lavender or just super tiny drop of ultramarine. I'm going to use also yellow for, I forgot the name, for the middle part. I don't even know the name, I think. So for this place, if you know the name, please let me know. Perhaps I know it, but I don't remember. I'm using transparent yellow. It's just warm yellow. If you don't have transparent yellow, any yellow will be good. You can also mix it with a bit of white to have it lighter, or adding water. For the stem, I'm using a bit of burnt sienna, because I can see here a bit of warmish. For the leaves, I'm going to use olive green and just normal green. These are all from Rosa brand, and I like how these greens look like, because they are very natural, yeah, so they are not super bright or something. And for some contrast places, I'm using usually indigo, so these dark, almost blackish spots, to make this super bright, super light. I'm adding shadow from this part, and when the stem is shiny and very light. So it's indigo, lunar violet, neutral tint, something that you have. Usually the shadow is cool, that's why indigo works the best for me. So these are the colors. So I usually use in tubes, as you know. Before we are starting with the pencil drawing, I will use this super magical spray. We'll charge it with magic. It's just normal water. No magic, no real magic. And I will start with composition. Even on this photo, you can see that the flower is not in the middle, it is more to the left, and you have just a bit of place here and much more, like 2 times more distance to the right. So it's good, it's not in the middle, so I've already decided that while I was making the photo. Usually I start with big shapes, because if you start with this middle part or with some petal, then there is the risk that it's not enough place for other petals. That's why drawing starting from bigger shapes is always more safe variant. Usually the flowers, when you look at them from the side, they have oval shape. Let's have a look. It's oval, right? And we will start making this oval. So it's like an egg looking to the corner. So it's not the exact line, not standing, but a bit diagonal. My size of the paper is, I think it's 19 to 27 or something. Yeah, I always mark it. It's Hahnemuhle collection, yeah, HC. Because if I cut, I don't know then the brand. So I'm starting with my oval. Thank you. If you have any questions, just ask. So I'm putting the flower a bit upper to have more space for the green. And I'm checking that there is enough place from here and here. And I'm making this oval. So when it's there, I'm starting to find in the center. And because the flower is not the passport flower, yeah, like this, we're not looking like this, but a bit from the side, I can notice that this petal is very small. So with the pencil, you can always check how many of these petals you can put here, like 1 to 5 or something. So if it's like this, so here will be the center, or here, okay. So like 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, almost like this. And now I can start making the petals. And now the typical mistake that I notice when people start painting flowers or drawing flowers, they usually do like this, because we know from our childhood we use these patterns, and we used is like, okay, these are the petals, yeah. So usually rather smooth lines, not rough lines. But what I want to show you, how curvy and how rough are the petals, especially by hibiscus, because it has very tender petals. Look, it's amazing. There are no straight lines. Everything is so jumpy. And that's important. So everywhere here you can see that. And in general, after we know that it's rather curvy, try to look at the petal also in a big shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, or like 1, 2, 3. So it's like it's some kind of triangle, and this is the highest point. Yeah, you can use also Nepal yellow for the center of the flower, sure. So that's important to see. In this case, you never get just ovals or ellipses for your flower, for your petals. Oops. if you look here, you will see that I tried to make it super curvy so that you see how it may look like. Yeah, so we are starting. I will put it a bit aside. So I'm starting first with this flower, with this petal. It's a bit like this. It's not obligatory, it should be the same, but it should be rough edge. That's important. Like one. From here. So I'm now removing my initial ellipse. The highest point, you remember. I think I will make this a bit longer. Like this. I'm going to have super big flower. So all these lines, triangles, we try to follow this, and I'm checking that this is the highest. And the next one, starting here. Like this. And one more. It's also a bit of a back of the flower, and then I'm making the center. The center is, I think that this is a bit bigger, like here, I think. So it's a bit here. It's some curves, just rather high. And it's getting bigger to the center, yeah? So when it's first like this. And you can also make this cast shadow or just doing it later. It was already with paint. It's a bit higher. This is cast shadow. So now I'm going to remove all the lines that were initially done just to help me to place the flower. Making also my pencil drawing not that bright, because you know watercolor is a transparent technique. Yes, and then the stem. Just curious if you paint with me now or you just watch. It's interesting to know. If you paint, just let me know. But as usually you can do it later on, yes, because it will be available after this stream as well. Natalia is painting. Cool. So the pencil drawing is done, and I will paint on wet. So I will wet the whole paper from both sides, because both sides just gives me more time to paint. And for that, it's super important that we follow the consistency rules. With paints, we usually cream consistency with painting on wet paper. Just super simple check how you mix. I will mix here green. I will add water, and you can see that this is tea consistency. That's a lot of water there. And the same color I will mix here, prepare, just not mixing, with cream consistency. So when I move my palette, this is moving. You can see, yeah, just drops going there and back. And this place just stays on its place. So this is cream consistency, and this is tea consistency, very liquid. Why we do know why we need it? Just when you paint on wet paper, just imagine that you have wet paper. And this. When you paint with this consistency on wet paper, you make the line, and the line is rather big, and it starts to spread. It is getting bigger and bigger. Hi, I'm just watching. Yes, watching is also yeah, like kind of preparation for the painting. So you see how quick it spreads, and the line is getting bigger and bigger. And if I'm adding like this line, it almost stays on its place. Of course, the color is more intensive, but it won't be that big. So just I remember that, okay, plus 1 millimeter it can be bigger, but not this uncontrollable wash. For flowers, it's important because I don't want that one petal bleeds into another and then I lose the separation between petals. So that's how it works for me. If you like, you can also paint petal by petal. So you wet one petal, you paint it, and you come to another petal. It's also possible, but it's not my way of painting. So that's why I'm explaining the technique, because I'm going to wet the whole paper completely. First from back, big brush. Tanya, hi Yana. I don't know what Tanya you are, but hi. Hi Tanya. So first from back. My cat's hair, I think. My Tanya. Oh, hi Tanya. Yeah, I have very small icons. I don't see the the photos really, so I don't know, I cannot guess, only from the names. It's yeah, it's interesting when you paint online and you know who is on the streams of these people you know in life. You can imagine how they look. I think it makes the live stream a bit more close to offline communication. So I'm adding lots of water. Now it's warm in the room, so it can be that it will be drying quicker than usually. I think it's enough. The same from front. I'm making lots of movements because in this way the water comes inside the paper. Because the paper is super wet, I'm not going to start immediately, because if I start now it will bleed crazy. So I will leave it for 30 seconds, and during this time I will prepare the colors. And as you remember, the techniques for today are charging, and the topic is reflex. That's why I'm going to use blue, namely lavender, for the petals that come that look to the sky, and I will also add a bit of green for the petals that are here, because we see that the light comes from this upper right corner. How we see that because of the shadow, you don't see, just a second. Yeah, because the shadow from the center is to the left, so it means that the light comes from the right, and also here more light than here, so this is more in like shadow. And I'm not going to make cast shadow now, so I'm adding only form shadows, so like own shadows of the petals, but I'm not going to add cast shadows. So these or this triangle I will make later, already on almost dry paper, because cast shadow with very bright direct light in most cases has very sharp edges, so it's better to make on dry or almost dry paper. So it's wet, and now I will remove all the water around that I don't need. I cannot start with green, because if it's too wet and the green will start like bleeding uncontrollable, then the flower will be green. That's why I'm starting with flower, and I will make now the color for the flower. So I'm taking pink. It's a mixture of this bright and not bright actually. So it's pink with a bit of water, because I don't need cream consistency for light. Cream consistency we use for dark shadow spots. I'm also preparing lavender, so it's here also with a bit of water. And if I need to make more purplish, Then I will add blue or lavender, but also with water because it should be light color. So a bit of ultramarine and water. Yes, so now let's start. I'm using either paper or cloth to clean the brush, so that there is no water on the brush. All the water is already on my palette and inside the paper. So I'm starting with pink, a bit in the middle, and I always remember that it may bleed. What I forgot, to remove water from the center, sorry. So I'm taking this and I'm removing water from here, just pressing, because it should be light. I don't want pink there. It was dirty or what? Okay. Yeah, so pinkish, a bit bluish or purplish, so lavender. Just experiment. Just look what is there. Just charging, yeah, it means adding additional colors, so it's not one color. If it bleeds again, I'm removing just by pressing the paper. It's lavender. I cannot start immediately with veins, that's why I'm starting with lavender for these places. Just a bit of lavender chaos. I just love lavender, no logic. You can think it's the sky, but it's not. It's not about the sky, it's just about love to some splashes. Now I'm adding olive. Also a bit of water, yes. So every time we paint light, we think about consistency. It should be tea consistency. Every time we paint shadow, we think about consistency, and it should be cream consistency, very thick. But now it's still the light. So it bleeds, and there should be no panic about that. It's just the game when you paint the first layer. I'm removing from this side because I'm afraid that it may bleed. What happened now, you see that green a bit bleeded into the flower. And in other situations we can say, oh no, what should we do? It's a disaster. But no, because we remember about reflex, that one object influences on other objects and vice versa. That's why this color is pure okay. Of course, if it's super green, then the flower is a bit, it's not a flower anymore. But for now, you can think, oh, it's nice. And now I'm starting to use already cream consistency. I'm using cool red Alizarin with a bit of pink, so that it's pinkish. And I'm making for this flower from middle of the flower to this, how do we call it? Button. To the outside. It's a mixture of languages in my head. Very quick. Here as well. These are not actual veins now because it will dissolve. It's just a bit deeper color there. Now I'm coming around this middle part. So after each cleaning, I'm making the brush absolutely dry and again mixing these two colors, Alizarin and Opera Rose, to make it even thicker. And making already veins. It will also bleed a bit, more than I expect, but let it be. And while it's a bit too early to add veins, I will add colors for the background. I will take normal green, which is sub green or any green, but not emerald green, because that one is too bright. And I will add a bit of lines. If it's too bright, I'm adding indigo. Yeah, here is nice consistency, the state of the paper. I'm coming around. I'm not touching the stem and leaving like 1 millimeter to the petals so that my green doesn't go crazy there. So it's like some kind of a chaos. Flat brush, but round brush is also possible. I'm taking thick consistency with indigo and making a bit of contrast here. And I usually pull so that it's not like the line cutting one object from a different, but more as a shape in general. So these are light leaves, you remember them? The key is very thick paint, because thick paint you can control. It doesn't bleed super crazy. Hibiscus has this very nice shape leaves. And I'm pulling, so first the line that I'm pulling so that it's not like cut. It's the main vein of the leaf. I showed in the reels and shorts on my YouTube how you can make scratches. I will also make them. You can make it with a palette knife or with cards, plastic cards I mean. So with this way you can remove a bit of a pigment. It's too early, yeah. Not yet, a bit later. So when it doesn't remove, it means that it's too early. So now I will make also some more splashes. It's lavender, and I will also make some green. And coming back to veins. From the middle to the edge. I can add also a bit of varnish. When it's too obvious, clean dry brush, you can lift a bit the color. And after each stroke, we'll make also a bit of like shadows lines here. That's lavender. It's a bit darker here. This edge is a bit in the shadow. And here more color. Because the color comes inside. And it's becoming later more pale. I will add shadows now to the flowers. Something dark we need. Pink, very thick consistency. Alizarin and a bit of blue. So I need some Bordeaux color like this. It's purplish, but more like Bordeaux color. Very thick. And sometimes I'm not sure how much water I have, how much pigment. I'm doing like this. Yeah, removing a bit. It's time. Yes. So some details. And now shadows. So I'm looking attentively where there is a shadow. The shadow is here, and I can also just make it like footsteps. So it will bleed a bit. Also here. Also to separate these two petals, it's like footsteps here. And here in between. So first these two footsteps, it looks strange, I know. Now with clean brush I can a bit pull it, so just moving a bit the paint so that it looks a bit more natural. And now taking the colors for the veins, both reds, and we'll make veins. Yes, now it's much more control. The clean drying brush a bit blend in place. So the cut shadows I'm not adding for now. This is also shadow behind. A bit of burnt sienna. And I do want that the stem is much lighter than the background. That's why I'm a bit removing, so lifting a bit the color. And then making the background from that side darker to show the contrast. Also like steps, footsteps. And pulling if needed. So now I see that this is light, this is shadow. Coming back to my sienna, very thick, no water, because now it's the time of intensive color. All the light is already done. This is shadow. I'm not using now the brush for details, still a bit waiting. so silent. So when I add something now, only with very thick paint, because then I have control and I never get cauliflower effects, because if now I'm adding water, I will get a big spot of cauliflower. I will make the veins darker, the same colors, pink and alizarin, and I will add a bit of blue, just a bit. It's too much. Coming back again. Because usually with the secret, the middle part of the flower is always warm. So if you paint any flower, especially flower with petals, with a lot of petals around the center, always take warm color, because there is a big warm reflex. That's why blue is never a good idea. Yeah, bluish, cool. So I'm adding a bit of warm now. So now I think I can stop with the first layer, because what is left is the cast shadows and also the middle part. Perhaps some grass effects. Usually I don't use hairdryer. I just put the paper under. It's super wet, you see. But it will take some time. That's why I'm going to use the hairdryer. Watching, enjoying, learning. That's nice. You can later paint as well. I will use my hairdryer. Yes, I'm not going to wait, but I'm not going to use it so completely. I will now remove this thing, because otherwise you will hear my hairdryer. So it's not absolutely, yeah, it's not dry, but I will try. So I'm taking a different brush now, a small brush, it can be schlepper brush, and taking very thick pigment, it's indigo or something dark, and adding a bit of the details like tiny lines, and watching what is there. And this very thick making a bit of the details for the stem, perhaps also to some leaves. They don't mean anything, these details, right? I will now change the brush again to a synthetic one and will make cast shadows, the same colors, all the cool reds, and can be a bit of ultramarine to make it a bit colder, because the cast shadow is usually much colder than the form shadow. That's why I can add a bit of bluish, and again very thick, and I will make now this place dark, also here. Clean dry brush, I will a bit make it smoother with edge. Clean dry brush, just a bit pulling. Also painting this. When it comes to the center, you see that it's becoming also warmer. This yellow influences and the middle itself. So my brush is so dry, so thick is the pigment that it's even difficult to paint. See also a bit of shadow here. Some reddish dots are here in the middle. And thank you. It's a different Tanya. It's a different photo, I think. Of the same Tanya, but changed the photo. It looks like a cat now. I cannot guess. So now I'm taking transparent yellow, or you can use also Napple yellow or transparent yellow mixed with white. Don't use pure yellow or pure white, because white is usually of cool hue, but we agree that in the middle it cannot be cool, it should be warm. I'm taking transparent yellow. It's here. Yeah, so it's transparent yellow mixed with white. So I'm getting very light color, and with this color I'm making this middle part. On some places my paint still bleeded, that's why I lost the initial white place, but it may happen. If you have masking fluid, you can also use masking fluid for this spot. Of course, it's super convenient to use masking fluid, but I usually don't use it. And also for the stream, it's a bit the thing that you have to wait when it is dry. You cannot use a hair dry, because then you cannot remove it. And yeah, that's why I don't use it. And sometimes after years you can also see like tiny things remained on the paper. After years you can see a bit of brownish pieces that are very deep in the paper, and that's what masking fluid does. So if you use it, you have to remove it very good from the paper. So I will also add a bit of veins on dry paper, almost dry, thin a brush. It's not dry paper. I think that I will use again the hand drying, because I cannot make all these tiny tiny veins. I need light color, but light color means water, and if I add now water, I will get cauliflower effect. So now I will add some of this watery veins, very light pinkish purplish color, and having also the napkin, and on some not everywhere, but on the places where I see them, I'm adding a bit like trembling hand. So you see what happens, we have this like charged environment because a bit of greenish here in the leaves, a bit of yellowish, so it makes the objects like together integrated in the environment. Again, of course, it's not a watercolor botanical illustration. When we have all these details, it's not. So our goal is just to let people know what flower is meant. And that's why I'm adding some of these typical veins. These are very light. If you look attentively, you will notice them. So it's not these bright ones, but a bit of darker red. I will make this a bit darker. And what I also lack, a bit of darker color here. And light again to this middle part. And after that we are done. How are you going? You remember that the light comes from right, that's why from right color I'm adding a bit more white. But warm, yes, I'm adding a bit of yellowish. White as any color just comes inside, and then it's difficult to see it. I think it's time to stop for me. I will now turn another camera and we can talk a bit. If you have any questions, you can ask. So I hope that you are still in the progress of painting, or you can paint also later, because as usually the live stream will be, don't see me, will be recorded. Yeah, it's recorded actually, so it will be uploaded exactly after the stream finishes. If you have any questions, just ask, and I would be happy if you paint and then you post in social media, then you can share your result with more people. I will also tag you, and yeah, it's great to see then your results. And as usually, you can always join my Patreon channel to have more tutorials. And also, please don't forget to subscribe to YouTube channel. Also press the bell, because in this case you will get notifications about further tutorials, live streams, or whatever, any painting content. I will wait some minutes more for your questions or for your comments, and after that I will just press stop, and it will be uploaded to my channel. Thank you, Kerstin. Yes, it's a rather simple flower, because usually the simplicity of the flower is depends on the amount of petals. So if you take a rose, you have 20 petals. If you have let's say poppy, you have 4 or 5 petals. The same with tulip. So it's much more easier, because every petal has light, shadow, and if you have 20 of them, you paint 20 times light and 20 times shadow. Also shadows of 2 types: own shadows, these are form shadows, and cast shadows from other objects. So it really takes time. That's why it's better to start painting flowers with more simple flowers, with smaller amount of petals. So thank you for joining. Thank you, Karin. I was it's a nice communication approach with people that I do know in life, and with people that I never met, but who knows, maybe in the future. I'm wishing you a good evening and success with watercolor, and I will see you next week. As usually, I will suggest several options for voting, so you can also decide what we are going to paint next week. So goodbye. Nice that you had fun. That's very important, that we all have fun here. I'm teaching and painting, you are learning and painting. It's cool. So have a nice evening, and I will see you in a week. Bye bye.